All right, officers, got a question for you. Can you make a traffic stop and it appears that this is the vehicle that you were chasing that was speeding? You pull it over, but you lost sight of it for a few seconds, and it turns out you got the wrong one. Looked the same, very similar, same area, time frames quickly, but you pulled over the wrong car. Mistaken identity. But you found a whole bunch of drugs in the trunk, lawfully, as a result of this stop. Are those drugs admissible, or did you lack reasonable suspicion for the stop? Got a case out in New Mexico that I want to talk about. It's going to answer that question right now. Imagine, if you can, you're an officer in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning, so there's not a lot of traffic out. And you're on patrol, and up ahead you see, maybe several car lengths up there, just a gold color sedan. It's dark, it's at night. It's got the street lights illuminating it. So you don't gotta for sure tell the make or model, but you can tell that it's a gold-colored four-door sedan up there. It's speeding. You're gonna make a traffic stop, but it's a little too far away. So you're gonna pull up, get a little closer to it. But before you catch up to it to make your traffic stop, it turns onto another road, and you lose sight of it for about 5, 6, 7 seconds. By the time you turn onto that road, where is it? I don't see it. You lose it. But only 5 or 7 seconds have gone by, and as you're scanning around, hey, there's a gas station right there. Yeah, that's it. There's that gold-colored car. There's another gold-colored sedan parked there at the gas station. Guys seem to be standing out next to it, maybe trying to fill it with gas, and you feel like that's the guy. So you pull up behind it, initiate your traffic stop. You walk up, you get the license, registration. Only problem is his license is revoked, the arrest clause. So he gets arrested pursuant to your department policy. You conduct an inventory, and there in the trunk is a large amount of methamphetamine, a trafficking case. Defense attorney files a motion to suppress, alleging you got the wrong guy because his client had been parked at that gas station for almost 20 minutes by the time you pulled him over. He pulls the security video from that gas station, which shows that car parked there for 18 minutes. Now, you only lost track of the car for 5 to 7 seconds, so it's not the guy. Mistaken identity. You stopped the wrong car. So the defense attorney is going to allege that you lacked reasonable suspicion for the stop. Now the question is, do you? So the case I want to talk about is State versus Maestas, a recent Court of Appeals decision out of the state of New Mexico. Now, my New Mexico officers, as you know out there, the law is oftentimes significantly different when it comes to search and seizure under New Mexico law. However, this case is a Fourth Amendment analysis. So regardless of what state you're in, this is going to be a law that's going to be pretty similar. Of course, if you're an officer in some other state, check your local laws, check with your DAs and city attorneys and all that good stuff, because it may vary slightly. But under the Fourth Amendment, this is going to be pretty consistent nationwide. So the facts that I just explained in the case are essentially what happened in State versus Maestas. This Albuquerque officer on patrol sees the car speeding. It's a gold-colored sedan. He loses track of it for about 5 to 7 seconds, and there's a gold-colored sedan. Looks just like the vehicle he was tracking, so he does a traffic stop. But surveillance video shows that it's been there for 20 minutes, so it's not the guy. It's a mistaken identity case. Question is, does the officer still have reasonable suspicion to support that stop? Now, I've talked about other cases. Check out my video on reasonable suspicion. It's one of my most watched videos. So once you understand reasonable suspicion, you understand that it is a big picture, totality of circumstances. Can you articulate facts that will lead a reasonable officer to believe criminal activity is afoot? So in doing that, you articulate everything you can see. Now, mere hunches are not enough. You can't go on those fishing expedition, officers. So you do that, and you got no reasonable suspicion. But what about this case? Mistaken identity. You got the wrong guy, but were there enough facts to justify reasonable suspicion for the stop? It's 2 a.m. That's an important factor you'd want to articulate. Why? Why is that an important fact in this case? Well, because the court stated at 2 o'clock in the morning there's significantly less traffic out. So what are the odds that there are 2 similar cars, same color, in the exact same area, and you only lost track of it for 5, 7 seconds? So just those few seconds, huge fact. Had you lost track of that car for a minute, 2, 3, 4, 5, as more time goes by, the more unreasonable this becomes. But 5 to 7 seconds, and there's the car, or a very similar car, at 2 in the morning when there's less traffic out there, those are the kind of facts you want to articulate. So you got that similar car parked at the Circle K. You do the traffic stop. It equals trafficking. You think you got a great case here. Of course, you can't use any of that. What you find after the stop cannot be used to bolster it. You must have reasonable suspicion at the time that the stop happens. You officers, you cannot use what you find after the stop to bolster your reasonable suspicion. You must have reasonable suspicion at the onset, or the stop's no good. Well, the same thing applies here. The judge can't look at facts that were not known to you as the officer, and we, in 2020 hindsight, see that later and then say, oh, there was no reasonable suspicion. It's the wrong guy. It's not fair. But as my law school professor used to say, a fair is a place that sells cotton candy. But what our courts do say is that when judging reasonable suspicion, when trying to see if you have facts that would lead that reasonable officer to believe criminal activity is afoot, you can only use the facts known to the officer at the time. You can't use facts that you learn later, and neither can the court. So your job is to articulate all of those facts that you know at the time that you make the stop. And if you watched my video, you would see that sometimes you're not going to have enough, that you would come to the conclusion that it's only a hunch and you don't make the stop. Maybe you try a consensual encounter, maybe you do nothing. But when you go through your analysis and you start articulating those things, when you feel that it's more than that gut feeling, you can make the stop. In this case, the court found that there was reasonable suspicion to make the stop. Why? Big picture analysis. Not going to take into consideration the video. The officer didn't know that. It's based upon all those facts about the time of the stop. It's very unlikely that you have two of the same vehicles out there. Obviously there was, but the probability is much lower. The time factor, late at night, similar vehicle, the proximity, the 5 to 7 seconds, all of these things go towards reasonable suspicion existing at the time of the stop. So what's the takeaway here, officers? Make sure that you go through this analysis in your mind. So quick recap of my other video. You see something. Is a crime being committed right now based on what I see, or is it about to be committed? Has it already been committed? Why do I believe a crime is being committed? This is the most important question. Ask yourself what crime is being committed and why, because that makes you articulate the facts. And if you have sufficient facts that you can say, all right, it's a guy in a ski mask. He's got a crowbar. He's walking up to that door, looking over his shoulder. Oh, he's grabbing the door. This guy's in the process of committing or about to commit an auto burglary. Those are the facts you would articulate that would give you reasonable suspicion for that stop. Remember, once you make the stop, in Terry v. Ohio, the court said reasonable suspicion gets you the stop. However, you only have a limited amount of time to either confirm or dispel those suspicions. If you realize that there's no crime afoot or you can't prove it, you got to let them go. That's going to be a story that we'll discuss in a case coming up soon. So, all right, everybody, hope that answers some of your questions about reasonable suspicion. As the courts have noted, it just cannot be defined. It's oftentimes as elusive as a Sasquatch. So you just got to know the case law and you got to be able to articulate those facts. That'll go a long way. All right. Thanks again for tuning into the episode. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. It's not 2010. I'm not going to sit here and beg you guys to hit the subscribe button. I'm begging you to hit the subscribe button. Stay safe. Remember, every battle is won before it's fought. I will see you all in the next one.